Hey, how's it going, you guys? Welcome back. I am Matt, the Helpful Home Inspector. We're up at our studio in Hartford, Wisconsin, and today is a beautiful Wisconsin day. It was actually starting to warm up a little bit. I mean, it was freezing the last couple of days. We had 70 degrees last week. I went to golf on Tuesday. Didn't end up getting to go golfing, but then it was like 30 for 3 days. It's like now it's going to be 60, 70.
It's supposed to snow on Thursday night.
Shut up.
2 to 5 inches, right?
Oh, welcome to Wisconsin, man. Holy cats.
More fear casting from the weathermen.
Yeah.
From the weather people.
The weather people, yeah. It's something that in Wisconsin, predicting the weather it's like gambling. You're never going to be right. The house is always going to win the bet.
Yep.
But let's get into this, you guys. All right, so we got two great guests here today. We got Bill Miller from Bank 59. Bank High Five. There we go. And Tanner from Keller Williams, Tanner Smith of Smith Team Wisconsin. We're going to talk today about a really cool topic that is hitting hard to home with my household right now. And probably might be hitting hard to your household as well. And that is that you got a 20-something that's getting ready to start life, and life, it can be a hard smack in the face if you're not ready for it, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about today, helping your 20-something get prepared for that moment, and be ready, prepared, have a little bit of, I don't know how to say ammunition, but some information that
equipped.
You can bring. Yeah, you're going to be better equipped to bring this conversation to your 20-something to help them get through this moment. Tanner's gone through that moment recently, and he's still working through that moment, right? How old are you?
That's right. I'm 25.
25. So Tanner's still in the middle of that, working through it, but he has a lot of friends that are going through it and stuff. So a lot of great experience we're going to have here today to bring that kind of conversation to the forefront. But let's get our first thing out of the way here, and that is our save a buck. So every week we're going to give you something to help you save a buck. And this week we're going to tell you that it's time to check your sump pump. It's that time of year, folks, okay? The water from all the snow melting and stuff has saturated our soil, and it's starting to leach through the soil. We're also going to start having heavy rains and things like that. We could still have some frost lines to deal with where water's going to hit that frost line and run. And if it's not graded properly, well, then you end up with some other stuff. But checking that sump pump. The sump pump is probably the cheapest insurance you can have, okay? So a sump pump's $150-ish. About, right? And at $150, I don't know what your insurance bill is, but that's a lot less than an insurance bill, But the sump pump really shouldn't be filling with water. If it's filling with water, you got problems in the outside of your house you need to correct. Grading gutters and downspouts is how we keep water away from our home. And if we can keep water away from our home, there's no way it's going to get into our home. But in the event that it does, Mr. Sump Pump's going to be there to cover your back, okay? If your sump pump's looking old, rusty, crock is filled with water, it's time to go. And spend that $150. Maybe buy Menards, I think, is 11% off right now. Go buy a new one, and get that sucker put in so that you're ready for that rainy time to come, because the last thing you need is a flooded basement. My brother-in-law and sister, sump pump got away from them. Yeah, took the whole basement. Flooded the whole thing, all the carpet. They have a big finished basement and the whole bar and everything.
Oh, my gosh.
Sump pump backup coverage doesn't always completely cover everything.
It doesn't.
There's limits on how much it'll cover.
If you have sump pump backup coverage, I mean, some people didn't take it. They see it as an extra expense. I don't know if they did or not. I didn't really. All I know is that he called me up on, was it Saturday morning, honey? I think he called, and he's like, Matt, my whole basement's full of water. I'm like, oh man, did you go check your sump pump? Make sure it's working. If it's not working, get a new one put in right away. You got power? And he's like, yeah, I got power. So. But then trying to dry it out. You went through that with the wet basement,
Yeah, and they have some really good alarms that you can set right by the sump pump crock. Yep.
These guys, yeah.
And hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah, little water alarm. It basically just sits on the ground, and then there's these two little metal electric leads that if the water completes that connection, the 9-volt battery in here starts making this little siren go crazy and loud, letting you know there's a water problem, And these are like $7. They're not very expensive, but really good idea. And they sell them just about everywhere. Hardware store. I think I even saw them at Pick and Save the other day. So great little thing. They come in all different shapes and sizes, but this is the one that I see most frequently. And this one is made by Zircon, which is one of the more
Stud Finder Company.
They make a lot of household electronic stuff. But that one works great. We have one down by our sump pump or whatever. But definitely good insurance is your sump pump. But that little water alarm would be a great idea as well. And for not a lot of money, pretty cheap. So that is our tip of the day, saving you a buck. You might spend a couple bucks, but you'll save bucks in the long run. And then the defect of the week. The defect of the week is a word that we talked about last week about the home inspector swear words, okay, and that's asbestos, right? Does a realtor like to hear the word asbestos?
No, we do not.
Not usually, right? Yeah, it's something that most homeowners don't like to hear either, you know. But the reality of it is, if your home was built prior to the 70s, you probably have asbestos in some way, shape, or form. Could be in the adhesive on your flooring, it could be in your walls, it could be in your ceiling tiles, it could be in your pipe wrapping, it could be in your ductwork wrapping, it could be in your insulation in your attic, you know. Lots of different places that asbestos was used, and the reality of it is, it's not worth getting that worked up about, folks. Okay, asbestos is really only harmful when it's friable or when it's made into like this dust that can breathe into your lungs, where those fibers can get trapped in your lungs and metastasize into lung cancer. However, there's lots of publicity on the TV and radio about mesothelioma and asbestos exposure.
Class action lawsuits on that stuff.
So, you know, all these people are getting worked up about it. But the guys that they're targeting, the guys and gals that are targeting, are the people that worked in that industry and worked with asbestos day in and day out without any protection.
Johnny Cochran.
Yeah, it's just
on TV.
It just is what it is. But those are the people that they're targeting, not making your average homeowner aware of it. You know, in most cases, if you have asbestos in your home, it's not harmful to you. It's only when you go and do, and the most common place that people get exposure to it that aren't working in that industry are people that are doing deconstruction of their home. They're breaking up things, they're taking things apart, making that
demolition,
dust.
Creating a lot of dust particles in the air.
Exactly, yeah, and then you're not wearing a respirator, or you don't have a negative air machine and things like that. And if you want to remove it yourself, you absolutely can. There's no requirements in Wisconsin, at least, that you have to dispose of it a certain way or anything like that. They just say wrap it in a bag, tape the bag shut, and put it in your garbage can. You know, if you wanted to hire professionals, it becomes much more expensive, as you could probably imagine, whenever you have a special license and things like that. But it all ends up going to the landfill. It goes in the same place, you know. But asbestos, our defect of the week, sometimes and in most cases, I don't even mark it down as a defect, okay? But I make them aware there's a health risk that goes along with it in your home, but that it's only really something to be concerned about when it's made into a dust. And if I don't see something where it's going to actively be made into a dust, I'm not going to call it a defect, because there's no actual hazard there for you other than the fact that it's sitting there. You know, and the reality is, and I tell people, I joke about it on site, I could go and lick this stuff and I can eat it with my Cheerios and it's not going to hurt me at all. And the reality is, it's not. It's not harmful to our guts, our innards, or anything like that.
Just like most molds aren't really harmful to people either in houses, and it always gets disclosed, and it turns into an alarm for a lot of people that are immediately jumping in judgment on it.
Yeah, because of what they hear in the public and the media and stuff. Yeah, but asbestos, for what it is, was a great material. I mean, it lasts forever. It's heat resistant. It's flame resistant. It's
that's why they made floors out of it.
That's why they made floors out of it. There's lots of houses that still have it on it, and it's holding up great.
Asbestos siding.
Yeah, asbestos roofs. The asbestos roofing material, if you go to a roof and you see these like diamond shape shingles, those are almost always asbestos, and they're holding up great as long as they weren't mechanically damaged by hail or something like that, or some ding dong climbing around down there, you know. But the only downside to asbestos, other than the health thing, is it can be brittle sometimes. Yeah, but that's asbestos, folks. If you want to learn more about asbestos, you can go to the Helpful Home Inspector channel, and we have a couple, 3-4 videos out there about how asbestos, I think, right?
Yeah. We have a few to give you a little bit more information.
Yeah, and especially like when I'm on site and I'm with the material, I like to show it to everybody so they can see what it looks like and stuff like that. So yeah, so you can go on the Helpful Home Inspector and find that kind of stuff out. All right, and if you like our content, give us a thumbs up today, folks. If you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, letting us basically be a part of your life, and you can be a part of our network. And then if you want to know when we're coming out with new stuff, the bell notification is the way to do that. All right, so let's get into our co-host today, Mr. Bill Miller from Bank 59. We'll let you go first, buddy. And what we're looking at for Bill here is interest rates are hot topic, right? Everybody wants to talk about it. They've been talking about it for the last, 5-6 years, since 2.35 went away.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we're basically going into we're at the end of the first quarter of the third year of higher interest rates, and what is really the new normal for what people need to adjust to, at least by and large, because the cycle that we had for interest rates between 2020 and 2021 was really an anomaly.
Yeah. And you say new normal, but this is really what was normal for a long, long time. And it just, we had a brief period where it dipped way down, and that's what everybody's remembering.
They always remember the low numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't remember in the 80s when it was 18% interest, you know, on your home and stuff like that. So today, when you're looking at what are we at today? What's the normal?
6 7/8.
6 7/8. Yeah. So when you're in that 6 to 7 range, that's not that abnormal, people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when it went down to 4, when I first started teaching in the early 2000s, it went down to 4%. People were jumping off their chairs, going running to the bank to refinance because 4 was super low. You know, it's just you can't expect 2.3 to ever come back again.
No, because the amount of they were pumping so much money into mortgage-backed securities and treasuries that basically forced those rates down to those levels.
Yeah, and that's just not going to happen again. With all likelihood. And if you want to think of it this way, like your dad always says, date the rate and marry the house, right? So you can always refinance and do that kind of stuff if rates change.
We have since evolved to say lock in the price of your home. You can always change your rate later. Lock in the price of the house.
Yeah, that does sound more professional.
Yeah, it's everybody's got different ways of saying it.
Exactly.
I haven't heard that one from you before.
Yeah, it's just a recent one.
Oh, okay. Just came up with it right
fresh.
now. Fresh.
Okay. Bill's ever evolving, man.
Yeah,
he is.
He's always on top of it. So that is cool. So interest rates 6.78, really kind of where we're expecting to be all year. You thinking? Or?
Well, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves here in the time span between October 15th and the end of the year. Mortgage rates had to drastically correct from being at 8%. And when we got down to 6.5%, a lot of the lenders were contacting people who had bought houses or got a mortgage in the last 6 months prior. And we were talking to people and they would say, well, rates are going lower for sure, so I'm not going to refinance right now.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we got to be January 3rd, and the marketplace quickly started to wonder what the Federal Reserve's monetary policy was going to be going forward.
Sure.
And then we started to get some inflation data and some data regarding the unemployment rate, and suddenly it quickly turned around to where we realized that we got a little bit out in front of our skis.
Yeah.
And as time went on, we started to get more unemployment data and more inflation data that has now gotten us to the point right now where the Federal Reserve is at a really critical point in the fork in the road. Mm-hmm. They have to make a decision right now. They're actually having their open committee policy statement tomorrow. And they have 8 meetings per year. Tomorrow's one of them. There's no chance that they're going to lower the discount rate tomorrow.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of speculation still that it's going to be a coin flip as to whether or not they're going to lower it again or start to lower in June, where they would finally start to pivot.
And that's based on a number of different factors. They're taking all that into account before they make those kinds of decisions because they know those are decisions that affect a lot of people.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And we're in a critical position right now. For those of you at home, I would encourage you to watch the 10-year Treasury bond because we are really close to getting to the high point in the year for the 10-year Treasury bond, which is sitting right about 4.3% right now. Okay. And so long as the 10-year Treasury bond is coming in below the 2-year Treasury, that means we have an inverted yield curve, which before this administration redefined what a recession was, for whatever reason that got redefined. It used to be that if the 2-year was higher than the 10-year, that would mean the yield on the 2-year, that person would earn more on a 2-year bond than they would a 10-year bond.
Which is the wrong direction.
Right?
Yeah, it should be opposite.
That was the true sign of a recession if that lasted more than 2 quarters. And so right now, tomorrow, everyone's got kind of waiting with bated breath to see how things are going to play out, purely because a lot is hinging on this regarding borrowing costs being at levels that are just not really totally sustainable for people's affordability, bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. And that when it comes to interest rates and all that kind of stuff, understand that there's going to be adjustments, there's going to be fluctuations is something you have to anticipate. When you're looking at buying a house, locking it in means this is where I'm at. And if it changes tomorrow, I don't know if you can unlock that, can you?
You can float down. You can float down once during a transaction where we can basically pull back and relock. But it is, at some lenders, it costs money to relock. Mm-hmm. And there are cases where lenders will relock you and then you'll want to unlock again because suddenly you think it's a thing.
Yeah.
So mortgage companies are really careful about how they make their policies around that.
Yeah, because that gets a little risky, on their part.
Yeah, and we are seeing some first-time buyer opportunities right now where if you're below $99,900 in your annual gross income, you're afforded cheaper mortgage insurance. You're afforded an interest rate that's anywhere between 0.3% and 1% below the current interest rates. There are some really great programs for people who want to buy their first house. That could be a single family or a duplex. They could take advantage of some opportunities where the affordability is much better than what you typically hear in the media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So talking to somebody that's in the mortgage industry would be where you'd want to
really good idea
get
because
that information.
Honestly, there's just so much information out there that unless you're really paring it down with a professional, just like you would when you talk to someone about home inspection or when you talk to someone about real estate, same reason that you want to get with a local expert that's basically been practicing this long enough to where they can really make sense of it for you.
Speaking of local experts, you can reach Bill Miller at Bank59 or BillTheBanker.com. Look him up. He'll be happy to help you guys out. He's just a great wealth of information, and whether you're going to get your mortgage with him or not, he'd be happy to talk to you. So
Absolutely.
give him a call. But we have another guy here.
Absolutely.
This cat. First time on the show.
First time caller.
Yeah, Smith team's been here a few times, but
Yeah, happy to be here today.
that's awesome, man. We're glad to have you. Well, I know I have a question that I told you was coming, the market update stuff. We'll get into that. But it's getting to be that time of year, okay? Is your golf game, like, have you been doing some simulator stuff? I know this is an important thing coming up, you know?
Yeah, it's important. I've been to the simulators a couple times, and I actually got out on Curry, which is right down the street from me.
One of those warm days?
It was, well, not really. It was last Saturday, and it was
windy.
It was, a little bit of standing water, a little bit of mud.
Yeah. Wearing the winter gloves?
Not quite, but I was wearing a winter hat.
all right,
so
all right. That's all right, though. Yeah, I'll do
but
that for
we were
you.
able to walk 11 holes and got up to about 53.
Sweet.
So
Did they have a discount over there for?
Oh yeah, I'm sure it
Yeah.
was. I've never been there before until last
Curry's not
Saturday,
bad.
So.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, for
nothing
a
wrong with
Milwaukee
it.
County course, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm a professional of all the Milwaukee County courses. I like Dretzka the best, probably.
Okay.
A Brown Deer, of course, but I don't get to golf there ever because it's more expensive.
Okay.
You know? But they got Milwaukee County courses. They got some nice golf courses out there. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I told my roommate, I was like, I wouldn't want anything different that close to me because if
Yeah.
it was a super nice course and just the ease of just driving 30 seconds over there
It's
for
too
$60
easy.
golf, it's
Yeah.
way too easy. I was like,
Yeah.
we need something that's like very middle of the road and cheap.
Yeah,
So,
that you're not going to want to go to all the time.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
For sure. All right, so let's get into the important topic. Why you're here today? Well, not the main thing, but one of the main things. We're market update. So the housing market, it's been a crazy thing for the last 3 years. All right, and last year was no different. I mean, we had some highs and some lows, and the number of transactions was way down last year, but there was still a lot of hype in market. Craziness going on, right?
Right.
So where are we at? I mean, first quarter, what are we looking at as far as our housing market?
Yeah, so, we just checked this week. For the first time on Metro MLS, we surpassed 9,000 homes on the market that are active.
That's up.
Which is definitely up, yeah. And from what our office is giving us for updates as well is that, it's going up slightly, very, very slightly, and it's mostly evening out from years prior.
Now, part of that's time of year, though, too, right?
Right,
It's
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
that season.
Yeah, it's that season. Yeah, it's been sitting between 7,500 and 8,000 homes for January, February.
Sure.
Which is pretty typical. But yeah, now that we got the warm weather a little bit earlier, I
Yep.
think people started thinking about it earlier. It's just kind of the season where it's
Much more fun to go look at homes in 70-degree weather than
that's
30-degree weather.
That's right.
and
When-
snowy.
When there's a bunch of snow on the ground, people don't want to list their house.
Yeah.
It's cold. People don't want to come see it, and the pictures turn out a lot differently than they would.
Yep.
A lot of people like to say, "Oh, well, we have a pool," or it's more of a summer house. Well,
Or green grass or whatever.
right,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
There's a million different reasons why you'd want to list your home when it's nice weather.
Yeah, for sure. So we got more houses on the market. As far as multiple offers and all that kind of jazz, how's that rolling?
Yeah, definitely multiple offers. The buyer market is hot. We had 2 open houses in the last 2 weeks, and one of them had 39 parties come through.
39.
And then the other one
That's
had
like a carousel of like people just holy
You guys
cow.
get a valet at the open house.
yeah, right. Well,
a coat check.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, there should be a big coat hanger.
Yeah.
That's actually a good idea. I'm gonna think about that.
There you go. Smith Wisconsin flag right up on top. Yeah.
Right, put a little branding on it. That'd be
Yeah.
good. And then the other open house had 27 couples through it, and that was a condo.
That's still
So
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many offers did you guys get out of that?
so the house we got 10, and all of them were over asking price.
Yeah.
And
I mean, when they see 39 people come through, they know they're going to be competing,
Yeah,
right? So they're
it's-
going to find a way to be interesting, right?
it's a competition. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
4 of them were cash.
Yeah.
And that was a $350,000 house at list price. And then the condo, I believe we had 5.
Yeah.
So
And folks, in this competition, you need somebody in your corner that's going to help you work through that competition and make your offer look the best. The way you do that is a professional realtor. A professional realtor. And none of the best, some of the best in southeastern Wisconsin here is Team Smith Wisconsin. Take a look them up. Is it teamsmithwisconsin.com?
Teamsmithwisconsin.com.
Yeah, teamsmithwisconsin.com. They have a great team of people that have their expertise, but they all work together and do a great job for all their clients. I have, no problem giving them a full referral that you guys can go check them out. They'll be happy to help you out. They'll tour homes with you. They work 7 days a week. They're just super dedicated. But getting that professional realtor to help you work through that competition and stuff is essential.
It is essential. Yeah, it gets very competitive, and there's just a lot of things. I mostly work with first-time home buyers, and trying to educate that population of people it's rewarding, but it's a lot of work because
it's difficult,
if you would have asked me 3 years ago, oh, how do you think you could buy this home? And you start going off about all these different, throwing out all the jargon and all that good stuff. Yeah. It's tough. You have to learn all of that kind of on the fly. We like to try and do a buyer's meeting beforehand. Yeah. Set expectations.
Pre-education.
Right. Yeah. And it's really big to set expectations too, because you don't know how different people are going to respond to different situations. Yep. And with first-time home buyers, it's always a little bit more added stress because they've never done it before.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and going through that whole home buying process is just an experience. There's so many pieces and elements to it, from not only the touring the homes and looking at the homes. That's the fun part. Right? Mm-hmm, right. It's the sitting down at the table, writing a contract, right? That's going to be competitive, and that's going to be something that's going to secure you being able to live in that house instead of somebody else, right? Mm-hmm. But then it also comes down to the negotiation side of things, making sure that your interests are protected, that you're going to get the best deal you possibly can. And then when something, say you have a home inspection done, great idea, by the way. If you do have a home inspection done, hey, how are we going to negotiate this fact that I had a couple this weekend, Sunday, that they walked up at the house, and when you walk on the ground, the roof looks great, right? As soon as I got the drone up there, there's cracking throughout the whole roof surface. And the sellers reported the roof to only be 9 or 10 years old. And there's no way that roof is only 9 or 10 years old. Wow. And so there was some confusion there. I don't know if they were the ones that did the roof replacement, so they may not have. Might have been given misinformation in the first place, and they never went up on the roof to check, Wow. But you're looking at now all of a sudden, hey, you offered this much money for this house, and now all of a sudden you need a $25,000 roof.
Rude awakening.
Yeah, that's tough. And the realtor that was there, he was just like, okay,
blindsided.
He's like, yeah, he wasn't expecting. He didn't know either, because it looks good from the ground.
Right. He doesn't have a ladder or a drone.
Yeah, exactly. And but he's like, we got this, you guys. We got this. It's going to be a defect. It's a negotiation. He goes, that's where I shine. I'm going to be a great negotiator for you. We're going to try to figure out the best deal for you guys, and hopefully find a place you're happy. And that's ultimately what it comes down to, right? If the buyer and the seller can both find a place they're happy, the deal stays together. Yep. If they can't, well, then it falls apart, and we go our separate ways.
And that's why you check the inspection contingency on the offer to purchase.
Exactly. You never want to miss that. Yeah.
Well, and you don't fall in love with the house. So as you're walking through the house, know that, you might be competing, and your realtor's going to do the best that they can, but don't fall in love with the house until you get the accepted offer.
Yeah. Don't be disappointed if you don't get the house. Because if you're competing against 10 other offers, somebody may come in with a cash offer $50,000 over asking.
As many times as I've tried to tell people to not get butterflies and get all excited, they still do.
It's crazy how that works. Yeah.
Well, and they start to envision their family and their kids and out back and everything, and then okay, I guess let's go look at the next one.
Yeah, right.
But it all works out because ultimately, when you do find the house and you do get the accepted offer, then.
Yeah. And after you've gone through that process the first time, you're going to be so much better at it the next time and not be as apprehensive to make an aggressive offer at a house that you really want. If it's some place you really want and that you don't want anybody else to spend the night sleeping there, then you got to do what you got to do.
Got to go get it.
Yeah, exactly.
The first offer I got declined was actually $52,500 over.
52.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it was funny because that was the first one that they lost out on, and you can tell they're grieving if they don't really reach out for a couple more days. Yeah. They take the rest of the weekend off, and you don't hear from them, and they don't send you any more houses. But then the second,
they go radio
one,
silent.
Yeah, they go radio silent, and then the second or third one, normally they snap right back to it. Ooh, here's another house. Yeah, looks great. Let's go look at it.
Get back on the horse.
Tammy and I won our offer on our house at 25 under asking. So that was a different time. That was 2009. So that was a different.
2009 called. They want their offer back.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now that they know that the value's gone up and everything else, we really came out ahead on the thing. But it was like, a different time. You know what I mean? And being able to offer below asking is just not a thing right now. You know, it's just is what it is.
Well,
unless it's extremely overpriced.
Yeah,
you know,
which
I had a couple
can happen.
Right, I had a couple this year where they were sitting for a while, and we were able to go 10,000 under. But
people are getting
niche
aggressive.
situations.
Oh yeah.
Sellers were getting aggressive there for a little while. They were thinking that they could go high end of the range just purely out of the idea of how much inventory was there.
Yeah.
And the market told them what was really the house was worth.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that you run into in cases like that is if you, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, if they do a price reduction, there's blood in the water.
It looks bad because it records it every time you do a price reduction.
Yeah, right. It does. It'll show a status change on MLS. I guess you could say it like that, but price reductions can also be pretty common too. In this market, not so much, but
that you start high, you kind of feel your way down, but then as soon as they see a reduction, they're instead, you know, it's not like a price increase would be like, whoa, this is worth more, you know. Or
right? Yeah, there's no price increases going on. That just is decided by the market. But the thing is we can talk all day and show sellers all different sorts of numbers, but if they want to price it higher than what we think it's worth, and then it price drops. It happens.
Yeah, and that's you guys are at their whim with that. They want to get what they want to get for the house, whether it's worth that or not. Even after you guys give them advice, you know. Yeah. But it's a competitive market out there, and you just gotta be ready to. It's not. I don't want to say go to war, but you got to be able to pull out the big guns if you need to. You know, when it's really something you.
That's why you hire a realtor.
Hire a professional real estate agent. Exactly. All right. So we're going to get into our main topic here. And that main topic is revolving around age, more or less, and starting life. So I'm 20-something and I'm starting life, right? You get done with college or you go out and get a career or whatever. You're in your mid-20s and, you know, life is coming at you. And life can come at you in a lot of different ways, right? Things that used to happen was at 18, 19 years old, you left the home and mom and dad washed their hands of you, right? That was just the way that it was, right? That was how you were. That was just what it was, you know? When I went off to college, I mean, my mom and dad chipped in a couple bucks, you know, but that I was on my own. I was doing my own thing. Buy my own car, my own insurance, my own self, everything, you know, really wasn't a thing. But now I got a 24-year-old and 26-year-old that I was paying their cell phone bill till they're 25. And I was paying their car insurance till 23, 24. I mean, things are just different, you know what I mean? When you start to take responsibility for all your own stuff, like paying your cell phone, student loans come due. What else I got there? Buying your own clothes and food, pay your own car insurance, have your own car. You know what I mean? My son had a family car that he was using up until 6 months ago or whatever, or a year ago. About 6 months ago, wasn't it, honey?
He was super excited and we found him a really great deal.
Yeah, he got a great deal on the little Honda. But I mean, all that kind of stuff has large expenses, you know. Having an adult career and a job, start saving for retirement, getting married and have a family. I mean, that all, granted, getting married and having a family is happening later now than it used to. Before getting married and having a family was 2022, you know. There
was a period there where people, I think, were just deciding like, the heck with it. I'm just going to live my life. I'm going to go on vacations. I'm going to go to concerts. I'm going to go out with my friends. I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah.
And the reality is some people stayed in that mindset for a little longer than they should.
Yeah.
And how I know that is when I look at someone's credit report.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You can see how where it is and where it went, where it's been. Yeah, for sure. And so this idea that have this conversation really came about the fact that I got a son going through this right now. And he graduated from college from UW-Platteville, lived at home for a little bit or whatever. And he's like, I'm ready to start life. Let's do this, you know? So he wanted to get his own car. Cool. Wants to pay his own car insurance. Well, he didn't want to pay his own car insurance, but he paid his own car insurance.
I highly doubt he wanted to do that.
Yeah, he did. He now is paying his own cell phone bill and stuff. You know, he's been buying his own clothes for a while now. You know, but we still help out a little bit with food as long as he's living here at home. But you know, he's like, I'm ready. I'm going to do this thing. You know, and so he started talking to a buddy about possibly renting, and then possibly I was talking to him about maybe buying a house or buying a duplex or doing some house hacking or something like that.
I think I talked to him briefly.
Yeah, you talked to him for a little bit. I referred him to you or whatever. Yep. I think Mark talked to him for your dad, talked to him for a little bit about it. But it's something that, you know, it really is something that you have to consider all of your options, you know, and what's best for you and what's best for your long-term goals. You're also limited by life. I can't do everything you might want to do,
Right.
Like you may want to buy the Lamborghini, but you can't buy the Lamborghini right now.
No Lambos.
No Lambos at 24. Well, some kids do, but that's a different scenario.
It's a cold world.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't have a Lamborghini.
Exactly, right?
At 25.
But the reality is that when him and I started to look at making this decision, and I wanted to help him make this decision, there wasn't a lot of information out there. I was looking for like a YouTube videos or websites or something like that I could direct him to help him with that decision-making process, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is weird.
And that's something they should teach in school, truthfully.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's something you should have more personal finance
Should
and
be
education
an emphasis
about.
on that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We do. Wisconsin actually just passed that it's required for every senior to have a personal finance class now
I love
before
it.
graduating.
I love it.
Yeah. They should also be taught how to change a toilet and fix a faucet and do all the other stuff that a homeowner or a person living in life would need to do, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that.
Right.
But I guess looking at that decision, let's narrow out a piece of that. Where am I going to live? Right. And so that's what we're going to talk about here today. Where am I going to live? How am I going to live life? And I guess the reality of it is it comes down to, I have 3 options up there, but I left out the 4th. So do I buy a house? Do I rent an apartment? Do I house hack a duplex or whatever, or house hack period? It can be a single family house hack, right? That's what you got kind of.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Or do I stay at home for longer and save some cash? And it depends on a lot of different factors. And I know that when Peter called you up, one of the things that came into play was, hey, what's your job? Well, what's your income? What kind of house could you qualify for? And that kind of stuff. And you're kind of limited based on those types of numbers, but also how much do you have for down payment, other types of things, right?
Yep.
So when it comes to deciding rent, house hack, duplex, what are some of the big things that we need to consider?
So the first thing I would tell you that you need to consider is you're never going to save up the pace of money that you feel like you can save is not going to outpace inflation and the appreciation of home prices. So you really need to focus on, if your financial house, let's say you have some student loans, for example, you need to get the student loans on an income-based repayment plan. You need to at least realize that for now, you might not tackle paying the student loans as aggressively as you would like to, or make that the emphasis, because owning a home is a major pillar in your financial path to like wealth, to success.
Sure.
If you buy a house, like for example, I always say, I hear people say, I wish I would have bought a house 5 years ago. Well, what do you think the people said that were 5 years before that and 5 years before that? We're not driving from the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And so the income-based repayment plan allows you to get those payments down so that you can limit the impact that those have on how you qualify. That's number 1.
Sure.
Number 2, if you're in a situation where, like, the average first-time home buyer cumulatively across the United States, according to the National Association of Realtors, my mic just went out, puts down 7% when they buy a house in total, 7% including closing costs. So you need to figure out, do you qualify for a grant? Do you have the capability to come up with around 7% of the total purchase price? And then the last one is, can you sustain a mortgage payment that's going to be around 30% or so, plus or minus a little bit, of your gross monthly income? And will that allow you to get into a home price that is sustainable for the average price of a house in the market that you choose to live?
Yeah.
Higher price markets, lower price markets dictate that.
Yeah. Do you want to live in Brookfield or do you want to live in
Cudahy?
Cudahy. You know what I mean? It's just they're different worlds. You
Right.
know what I mean? $150,000 can get you a decent house in Cudahy. $200,000 in Cudahy ish, right?
Ish, yeah, 200, 250.
Yeah. But if you're talking Brookfield, what does 150 grand get you?
It doesn't get
Doesn't
you a
get
livable
you
house.
any-
It doesn't even get you a one-bedroom condo.
It gets you maybe
A lot.
an acre.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, so it's just you got to understand where you're looking to live, what kind of house are you looking to live in, what's acceptable to you,
Yeah.
and then what kind of finances have you got, and how's your financial house in shape? I mean, if you have a ton of credit card debt, you have a bunch of student loans, you have a brand new car that you just got. All that plays a role, right?
There's parts of Milwaukee where I see people who can purchase a single bedroom condo for somewhere in the neighborhood of $125,000 to $175,000. And now the next thing that's happening to those people is the cost for a condo association to run properly. They're raising the HOA dues to a level because now they're getting a bunch of deferred maintenance.
Yep.
So they have to pass that on to the unit owners.
$250 to $300 a month.
And it used to be $150 a month years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And now they're realizing that, hey, all the roofs are much more expensive. Everything is deferred. I got all this brickwork I have to do on the outside. All the driveways need to be replaced.
Yep.
It all adds up, you know, and they're part of the condo association. It's not the condo association's making money on you.
And the
part of that.
The crux of the reality is, I tell people, and this is kind of like a gotcha moment, is when I say, if it's $45,000 difference between a single family house and a condominium for how much you qualify for, because that's how much the condo fee impacts your affordability.
Sure. Yeah.
If you plug that into a mortgage calculator, $500 in condo dues, it's pretty crazy. You know, anywhere between $250 to $500, it affects it quite a bit.
Yeah. And now when we look at buying versus renting, right? Renting is, you don't have any equity, you don't have anything, right?
What's the interest rate on rent?
100%.
Yep.
It doesn't
Might as
make
well throw
We
it
didn't
in
plan
there.
that either. It's just facts.
It's just the fact. Yeah. You pay rent, you're not going to have a penny of equity in anything, you know?
No, and I feel like a lot of people, you know, back to the topic of 20-somethings, I feel like when you have that feeling of you want your independence, you kind of just block everything out and you're like, where's the fastest place I can go to just get out of here, you know? And so that, like, I mean, the year I got out of college, I was like, well, I guess I'll just stay in Madison and pay $1,000 a month for a tiny little apartment in a 1800s building, you know.
And I can hang out with my buddies, and I don't have mom and dad hanging over my ear, and I can play video games all night long if I want.
That's right. Well, and you can do that kind of stuff, and maybe you can enjoy that for, you know, a year. But I quickly snapped out of it because I was like, where's all my money going? It's got to be going somewhere. I'm not gaining any appreciation, any assets, things like that. So
$1,000 a month, man. $12,000 a year of your income is going directly to this other dude's pocket, and you don't get nothing back except for you get to live in this.
Right, and that's not including utilities and you know, Wi-Fi, water, things like that.
Renters insurance, everything else.
Yeah, and then if you're hanging out with all your friends all the time, you know,
it gets expensive.
They're right there on the weekends. Yeah, you spend so much more money, especially in a city like Madison or Milwaukee. You know, you're spending at least $100 when you go out on a Friday or Saturday, whatever it is.
Especially now.
Yeah, probably even more now, to be honest. You know.
So Tanner, how did you make your decision?
How did I make my decision?
Well, tell them what your decision was.
Okay.
So you left the apartment, right?
Yeah. So I left the apartment in Madison. I was still working at a software company there, but I moved back home, back to Wales, because I realized I gotta save up and try and do something else because this isn't working.
Didn't have a down payment.
Right. Not even close.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I was thinking about getting into real estate with my parents. So it seemed like an opportune time to come back and try and recuperate my finances and make the career switch that I wanted to do.
Even though it was painful,
right?
Probably to move back home with mom and dad, right?
Well, it was, but it also is
not
nice.
That they're not nice,
right? No, they're very nice. They're nice, I work with them every day, and I choose to, so that should speak to them. But you know, for a while though, it is nice because, you know, it's like, oh, dinner's ready. Like, oh, that's nice. But
laundry's done.
Right. We finally made Peter start cooking. He has to cook one night a week now. He's been doing some fancy.
What do you
fish
mean? He actually offered. When he made the decision that he was going to stay here until
he offered.
Was that a ploy or was that legit?
He legitimately offered
to get dinner, but getting dinner to a 20-something was going to Culver's or running through the subway or that kind of stuff.
I got good at doing hamburger helper when I was young.
Yeah, but I'm like, Pete, I can't do fast food all the time, man.
Yeah, so he started to cook.
And he started cooking. Yeah.
He is.
And he's like the
Taco Tuesday.
No. You would think. He
think LeBron James has that tagline.
It's seasoned fish.
He broke out.
Like he's broken out some recipes.
Dinner one night and all kinds of fancy stuff.
Once you can get the grill out, it's grilling season. That opens up a lot of doors.
He did hamburgers the one night. Yeah, but him and his girlfriend, they like to cook and stuff on the side, so they will make their own like hand rolled ramen noodles and all this other type of stuff. And so I'm like, oh, let's see what the kids got, you know. And so that works out pretty good. So
all right, so back on track.
Yeah. Sorry, we get off track a lot. Yeah.
Oh no, that's fine.
So you move back home, live with mom and dad, saving some bucks, right? Where does it go from there?
Yeah. So and my journey took me. I was 10 months living at home, and then obviously I had the urge to get back out, and I really didn't want to go back to an apartment, but I had been saving money. I was making more money.
Sure.
And so I was able to, I just got in touch with Bill just to see what we could do. I contacted him first because, I work with him on a daily basis, and he's great. And other than that, I just wanted to know where I was at.
And he's not going to make you feel like a turd if it's not right for you.
Exactly.
He's not going to break it down like some people will in the banking industry, like you're not worth their time.
Right.
It's
nothing like that. But also, he's not going to sugarcoat it. He's not going to tell you, well, you really could, get a house at $250, but you really only qualify for $230. That doesn't happen either.
Yeah.
He tells you how it is, exactly how it is, and where you can shop. And so then from there, I took myself on my own showings, and the second house I looked at, I wanted it, threw down an offer, and ended up winning it out. So,
and the timing was right. Like things fell into place.
Yeah, things did fall into place, and they do if you take care of your finances and you stay on top of things and you work really hard. Yeah, you can definitely achieve it. And I take people through that same process that have been kind of doing the same thing that I was living at home.
Most of your clients here tell me is your friends and family that are mid-20s, and that's kind of your niche right now, right?
Right, exactly.
Now, we also brought up earlier that you do this little house hack thing, right? Mm-hmm. What's your living situation like?
Yeah, so
you charging your girlfriend money?
No.
Oh, that would have been a good one. Okay.
So I don't charge her money. She only comes over when she has to work at Children's, which is 5 minutes away from my house, so it's not a big deal. Happy to offer that, but once I got the accepted offer, I was kind of reaching out to my friends who I knew that rented in Milwaukee or Waukesha or whatever, people that I knew I would want to live with. Because first of all, I don't need a 1,400 square foot house to myself. It's not a mansion by any means, but what am I?
1,400 square feet's a lot.
What am I going to do with the rest of this? Not decorate it, not put stuff down there. Just would look weird. It'd be a 1-bedroom apartment in a 1,400 square foot building. So, and then 2 of my friends happened to be like a month out of their getting out of their lease, right? Sure. And they hadn't found a new place, and they're 2 of my best friends from high school, so that worked out perfect. And basically how the situation works is I had them sign a contract for as you would for a lease,
like a lease,
but I charge them like way more than fair price for the rent in the area. I think in Wauwatosa, average rent's like $1,470, and that was 6 months ago. So maybe let's say $1,500 for a single person.
You don't have to disclose them.
Yeah, no. And I wasn't going to, but having them just even help on the mortgage is huge for me. And plus, I get the company of them. We hang out all the time.
They get a little cheaper rent.
They get
for sure.
No, it's
you don't have to worry about a landlord or nothing like that.
No, exactly. It's and take care of your own stuff. I trust you.
Yep.
And if you break stuff, it's in the contract. So.
Yeah, and you have you bear the responsibility if something breaks or something like that, because you still have that portion of a landlord role. Yeah. But it's also because you are the owner of the property. If the relationship goes bad, you're still insulated, right? And then they would have to go find someplace else to live. Right. So protecting yourself in that house act is important too,
100%.
So you wanted to make sure they weren't going to become squatters one day. Is that what you're saying?
Right. But when you guys have all had roommates before.
I'm not leaving.
I mean, I had a roommate in college, Chris. Love you, Chris, man. But Chris would go out every Friday and Saturday night, come home, and it was religious puke on the floor, fall asleep in his puke, and that was how we went through it. That's how we went through a whole semester, Eventually he realized that college wasn't for me, and he left, but at that semester I was like, I'm out of here, I went and got an RA job or whatever, and I didn't want to have a roommate ever again type of thing,
Oh boy, yeah.
But it can go bad too, so you gotta be really careful about who you're choosing to have your roommates as, and you also need to insulate yourself when you're doing that kind of thing. So having a lease when you're the owner of the property, not just saying, hey Jimmy, come live with me, give me $500 on Saturday every other Saturday or whatever,
We will help people who are going to qualify outside their typical debt to income ratio allowance, where they know they're going to have some people helping out with the mortgage payment. There are some creative ways to get people to a higher debt ratio or affordability ratio when they know they're going to have people helping out. Today, I actually helped someone with a pre-approval where the guys, they're trying to buy a duplex together with 10% down. Guy's going to live in one side. His brother's going to live on the other side, and then they each are going to get some people living with them on either side, kind of like what you're doing.
Sure.
And I definitely think that's a new trend because it helps really stave off the impact of the affordability challenge that we have now, because you have to have significantly higher income now to afford a house than you did in 2018, 2019.
Yeah, $40,000 a year isn't.
That's what they were saying.
Going to get you a lot.
That the amount of the increase, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to add something quick too to my situation as well. As I bought a single family home. I did not buy a duplex, so it was almost imperative for me to find somebody who I knew and who I trusted and who I liked to come live with me, because we're going to be in the same space. With a duplex,
there's a wall, a separate door.
Right, exactly. And you could take your chances on apartments.com or whatever have you to fill that space. But for me, it was all the same space.
Yeah.
So
I would only have done it the way you did it too if I was going to do it.
Yeah, right. I mean, and the reality of house hacking, you guys, is that you can hear stories and you can talk to people out there that they're paying almost nothing for their mortgage because they're renting out the other half of the duplex. They have a roommate in their current side, and the more amount that they pay to their mortgage is like $150. But they also carry the insurance and all that other kind of stuff, bear the responsibility if the roof has to be replaced and stuff like that. But there's definitely a financial upside to doing that, and to look at what happens to house prices. It's a different world. When I graduated from college, the average house price was $125,000-$150,000 in Sussex.
Yep.
That's not the case anymore. Now you're looking at $250,000-$300,000 as your average house price in Sussex. It's just a different world. And you're talking about double the house price means double the down payment you need, double everything when it comes to mortgage and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
my first house was $240,000 in Waukesha, and that house 18 years later sold for $473,000.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. When you're talking about an investment from a investment perspective, a house, you're not only gaining on paying down your mortgage and now you have cash equity in the home, but now the value of the house goes up as well. So you're drawing your mortgage down, your value of the house is going up. So this all is in the middle is your equity. It's money that you got coming back to you is growing, know, and it's just a great wealth builder.
We did a look back, and I got the slides from an economist at Madison, and it was a 10-year look back, and the average appreciation was 5.9% per year if you did a 10-year look back.
Yeah.
So if you annualize that, the fact is the person who's paying the rent can make the argument that they didn't have to do the cost of living, and they had other advantages because they could get up and move whenever they wanted. Yeah. But the reality is there's no way any other benefits like that can outpace all the advantages from the standpoint of how much you spend per month and like cost of living, like what you're doing.
Yeah.
And all the things you were identifying with before.
Yeah. And even if you're going to own a home for a short period of time, you're probably still going to come out ahead in the end of things,
Yep.
But so there's one of the things I wanted to mention this, but there are short-term benefits to each of those, like to be able to, with renting, be able to move wherever you want, whenever you want type of thing. There's short-term benefits to buying a house versus a duplex, With duplex, the short-term benefits are the financial right up front, where buying a house takes a little bit longer to have some of that financial benefit, But there's also, I think, a greater long-term benefit to purchasing a home or purchasing a duplex. Purchasing a duplex ends up being more of an investment in the long run because now you have rental property and that kind of stuff. That
you should talk about the house hack, the fact that you only stay for a year.
Yeah, right. You can stay for longer than a year, but let's just say my plan to be moving forward from this is stay in this house for, let's say, a couple years. Let's just be conservative. Sure. But then when you have enough money again for another down payment and you can just fully rent out that other house and then you go buy another house and live in that, then you have a full rental property on this side, and now you have a new one, and maybe you're house hacking the second one too. Yeah,
somebody's paying the mortgage down, the value of that house is going up, and now you're in another house doing the same type of thing, and just keep growing your portfolio that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guys that are in the rental business, the landlords and stuff, they talk about doors and
how many doors you have,
how many doors you got, and one guy says, I have 87 doors these days. I'm like, that's a lot of people to take care of.
Right, that's a big responsibility, and that's another thing too is you have to manage that as well. If you're going to buy a duplex, you're renting out half of the building that you live in. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to take on that responsibility. You can't be gone all the time and, hey, the water heater broke while you were in wherever for 2 weeks and
for sure,
or maybe you travel a lot for work, but
Yeah. Now, let's get into the next question. What do I need to qualify for a loan? And that, I think, is where Bill is going to come in here. Do we have some infographics here, Bill, that would work?
Yeah. So the first graphic that we'll look at is basically to say, let's talk about, first for clarity, let's talk about the age for the audience. Generation Z is 18 to 25 years old. Our friend Tanner here represents the top end of the range for Generation Z. And the young millennials are 23% of the housing market. They are 26 to 34 years old. And then you have the 40% of older millennials, that's going to be 33 to 42-year-olds. So if we're looking at in our graphics, if we went to the, if we're looking at distribution, let's say that you're going to buy a house and you fall under the category of under $99,900 a year for annual income.
Yeah.
That person can buy a house with 100% financing if they can get under contract on a property. 100% financing.
Wow.
And if you are in a situation where your family is, let's say you have a child, or let's say you have, so for example, there's a program in Madison that's called WEDA. That stands for Wisconsin Housing Economic Development Authority. It's been around for a long time. I had made a comment at the start of our show that there are interest rates that are 1% below market, and their interest rate right now is at 5.875 for that program. They can take advantage of opportunities to get lower costs for mortgage insurance and cheaper rates. That's an option. If you are...
How do you qualify for WEDA?
So it's basically a conventional loan. The majority of mortgage companies in our community offer WEDA, and it's $114,000 a year for a 3+ person household, and you can still get that program, and it's based on whoever lives under the roof. So, for example, this person I talked to today looking at this duplex, they would have qualified for it. But then they suddenly disclosed to me that they have a couple of buddies living in the same unit with the guy who's going on the mortgage. They make you sign an affidavit disclosing all the income for anyone living under that roof in that unit. And
qualify for the 114.
Yeah, and I'm not here to I'm here to still do mortgages for a while, so I explained that to him, and we're not going down that road. However, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae has Home Ready, and Freddie Mac has Home Possible. Those programs are 3% down, and they allow a lot more creativity around how they do those loans. The biggest creativity, and it's funny how some lenders don't even realize this, because the person is going to want the 6.5% rate if they can get that lower rate and the cheaper PMI.
Yeah.
Let's say, Matt, you have commission or bonus income, but you qualify just on your base.
Sure.
Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac will let you omit those other incomes off the application so that you can still buy the house at the better terms.
Oh, okay.
They give you that flexibility. So back to 10,000 feet, 0% down, 3% down. And for those folks that have less than perfect credit, that's going to be 3.5% down. That's going to be your FHA loan.
Yeah.
And we know that with FHA, we're not seeing as many of those customers getting under contract in this market because FHA is picky about property condition, lead-based paint,
peeling paint,
rot, handrails, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Roof condition.
Yep. A lot of that stuff is a deal stopper. So there's a stereotype associated with FHA, but for properties that have been on the market for, say, over 3-4 weeks, if that person gets an FHA offer, they can consider it. And of course, for those folks that are veterans, you can get 100% financing, even on multi-unit properties if you're a veteran.
VA, yeah.
So those are going to be your lower down payment
options.
options.
Picky, though, too.
They can be. They follow the same rules as FHA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trip hazards.
Yeah, the VA, I find that they're more picky on the handrails and that kind of stuff, just because they're looking out for the health of that. Well, I get that.
And the VA appraisers are selected by the VA. Mm-hmm. FHA, all the mortgage companies use their same appraisers for their conventional loans as they do their FHA stuff. Yeah. But if it's the VA sends out the appraiser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you hear somebody talk about the VA inspection, it's a VA appraiser with a checklist. It's not that they're an inspector like me that knows about houses and construction and that kind of stuff. They're just looking for items that are on the checklist. Are there guardrails at all stairs? Are there GFCIs by all the kitchens and bathrooms? Does the roof have more than 3 years of life left in it?
Yeah, and try to get someone to put that in writing when the shingles are curling up.
Right.
The thing I was gonna say though this year was that we got that nice enhancement for those folks that want to do the house hack, the 2 to 4 unit properties. Fannie Mae released that enhancement to do 5% down on 2 to 4 unit properties if you're going to own or occupy, and that is something that is
for 4 units.
Yes.
Wow. Cool.
However,
about 2 weeks after I purchased my single family house.
Yeah, isn't that right? Yeah. The thing with that though is that as much as that was nice to hear, people who are investment property buyers as their business, as their form of business, they pretty much flush out that buyer who has the 5% down payment the majority of the time. The one of the things I want to mention too is that right now we are seeing more generational home purchases than we ever have. Yeah. People who are like, let's say my grandma is going to go into assisted living, and now I can buy her house, and I can do something called a gift of equity. So we see that in a situation where someone is going to, I know there was something in my graphics here where you're buying basically a house from your parents, and you can purchase the property where they're going to give you some of the equity that will substitute your down payment.
Sure.
And that's a huge advantage.
That's basically
huge.
like a gift.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like grandma.
Yeah. So 10%. It's the graphic that says home buying statistics and behaviors. 10% of Gen Z purchased a multi-generational home, meaning home to adult siblings, adult children, parents or grandparents. Yeah. I did have a lady who was 19 years old that was an EMT, took all the courses, got through the courses, and she was making just under $56,000 a year. She had no debt.
Sure.
She got a $10,000 first-time buyer grant.
Cool.
She didn't have to pay it back if she stayed in the property for 5 years.
Okay.
She got a gift of equity from the family.
That's like a free $10,000 she got.
It was.
Okay.
Yes.
Sweet.
And for those of you that want to get a grant, just know the average sales price in the area that we live and the average income for most first-time home buyers, it takes a pretty good recipe for the ingredients to allow you to afford to buy a house with a grant and get all those first-time buyer benefits.
Yeah, it has to. All the stars need to align.
Yeah, because 80% of median income it's based on family size, but it's pretty low.
Yeah,
and they're going to raise it again in April. Okay. So we're going to look at just in April of 2024, we're going to see what those new numbers are. They go up with inflation.
Okay. Gotcha.
In a nutshell, that's going to cover most of the detail on this stuff.
Yeah, so they're CPI adjusted or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. So lots of options out there as far as first-time home buyers and getting into a home, and things that can be interesting ways to go about it. What's my suggestion on a sump pump? What brand? Yes. The brand of sump pump, I don't know that it's going to matter all that much. The brand of sump pump, I don't think will matter. I think the horsepower of the sump pump would be.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just bought one recently.
Yeah, the higher the horsepower, the better the engine, the better the motor is in it, the better.
Submersible.
Yep, submersible is always a way to go. Never get a pedestal style. Yep. Always make sure that you have a sump pump that's got a built-in check valve instead of putting one on the pipe itself. You should have one on the pipe itself, but the internal one is almost.
Tell us what happens if the check valve goes bad, or if you don't.
Or if you have it the wrong direction.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Then you're in trouble. It doesn't go anywhere. Then the pump doesn't move water. And then that's basically the same as I'm pulling the plug out. You're not going to do anything, even though it may sound like it's running. So always want to make sure that thing is working properly. And I always tell everybody check it every 6 months. Halloween and Easter, 6-month maintenance cycle. So but lots of good options out there. If you're in the military, you want to look at FHA, you want to look at some of the WIDA programs. But Bill is the guy. He knows about all this stuff, and he can help you find with your situation what's going to work best and what's going to be your best advantage to getting into a home, and kind of bounce all the stuff off Bill, show him all your stuff, and then he'll say these are your options that would work for you, and then this is what I think might be the best.
My last tip would be to not base your decision on whether or not you should buy a property around the price of a home. You should first learn what your mortgage payment affordability looks like, and then back that into a sales price. Because the first home isn't going to be the long-term one. You should find something. If you were going to take the things that you like about the property and focus on those, and then say, here's the things that will eventually correct or improve over time, so that you at least can get your foot into home ownership, because time in the market is better than trying to time the market.
Yeah.
Right, Tanner?
Yeah,
for sure.
time in the market beats time being in the market.
And that pre-approval is where we do this, right?
Absolutely.
And that pre-approval is where you do that. And before you even think about going to look at houses, or even before you go on Zillow and look at houses online, get that pre-approval, because you could be looking at the way wrong market, dollar figure wise. And
See
you
that all
may,
the time.
yeah. And it just puts you in a bad place. You want to start with realistic numbers so that you're prepared for that house hunting, and that you're going to be looking at houses that you qualify for. Because if you go look at houses you don't qualify for, and then you write an offer that you don't qualify for, and then it's just...
I jokingly say, honey, we're gonna just pull right out of the parking lot at the Lexus dealership. We're gonna go right across the street to the Toyota store.
Yeah. It's just, it's one of those
Tanner,
things.
that's part of that pre-planning, pre-education stage, right?
Yeah, it's part of the buyer education meeting that we have. Yeah.
Yeah, for essential step. All right. So that is in your 20-somethings, looking at starting life and how you handle the living situation. We didn't talk about cell phones, insurance, cars, none of that kind of stuff, but that's kind of looking at your living situation. Now, one thing we didn't talk a lot about, we did mention it, but living at home with mom and dad may not be the worst thing to do. And that's ultimately where Peter ended up being, because his girlfriend's going to be moving colleges in the next year or so, and they're just thinking about different options and things. And instead of gambling on a rent situation and lease ending at certain times and all that kind of stuff, he's going to stay at home. He's
Becoming more prevalent.
Yeah, he's going to stay at home. He's going to save some money or whatever, and be better prepared to move to that next step, when that time comes, and having more money available to you in your down payment, all that kind of stuff, having all your financial ducks in a row is just going to be a much better situation for him, I think, in the long run.
There's one more really important step for someone looking to buy their first house that I really believe, and that is, it's super important if you're told that you should start to be able to target to afford a certain house payment per month, open up a separate independent bank account and put that amount of money in that bank account every single month separately. Yep. And see how much you have left for your residual cash flow at the end of a month, and do that for 2 or 3 or 4 months. Yeah. You'll be saving money along the way, or you're really establishing that foundation that you can really afford to do that, because too many people afford how much they pay for rent as the benchmark for how much they would spend for a house payment. Yeah. So if for 3 or 4 months you can track your spending that way by knowing this money's already been kind of accounted for, I can't touch it. Yeah. Then it makes it a lot more comfortable when you talk to Tanner and he's helping you try to figure out the confidence of let's go.
Yeah, for sure. So we're at a stage in our show here that we're going to do our question giveaway. Question giveaway is a little bit not our normal one, but it is something that Bill and I have recently delved into. We dove in kind of head first, and that is the TikTok world. Whether it be canceled from Chinese influences or whatever else ends up happening. Who knows? Who cares? But we're having fun with it. And the question of the day is, and if you can get this question right, you will be the person that will win a Google Nest thermostat. We're giving that sucker away today for free. It will be mailed out to you if you can get the question right. And it is the first person to get the question right, either in the comments of the show here first, or in the live show kind of recap, where you can go and watch the show after the fact or whatever, put in the comments. But the first person to get it correct will walk home with this Nest thermostat. The only rule is you can't have one in the last month. So if you won in the last 30 days, you're not qualified to win this prize today. So the question is, who has more followers on TikTok, Bill or Matt? There's only 2 answers, people. This isn't a difficult question. Who has more followers on TikTok, Bill the banker or Matt the helpful home inspector? Let us know what you think down below there, and we'll let you know what the answer is as soon as we get the right answer from somebody. But get out there.
I've been having some interesting dialogue on social media lately.
It's been interesting. Yeah.
Oh,
wasn't Kermit the Frog shirt? What was your shirt? Ernie or
the drummer? Not Gonzo.
It was something like that.
The Muppets.
From the Muppets.
I did a talk on appraisals and appraisal gap clause, and I had this yellow shirt on with Gonzo the drummer.
Okay.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah,
he's talking about this totally serious topic. He's got this Gonzo shirt on. Yeah. I'm like, that's the stuff, man. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah. But we have another fun thing we're gonna do today. We got a little mystery box battle, which we love the mystery box battle, but We have a topic here today, and basically the way this works, Tanner, you can pick which box you'd like to have. But there's a topic in each one of these. We're going to spend 1 minute arguing for our topic, and you can discount other people's topics if you'd like, but we'll let you pick first, being that you're a newbie.
All right, sure.
Go with that one?
Yeah, we'll go.
All right, so go with that. Bill, which one you want? Bill's going that one. All right, cool. So open it up, and we will.
So
first,
as a 20-something, which would be a better option to choose for living in?
I got rent.
Okay. I got single home.
Oh, look at that.
I mean, we didn't plan it that way. Yeah. And Bill,
condo.
He got condo. Condo. All right. I want to think a 20-something would go for a condo.
Well, I went with a condo because low maintenance outside instead of duplex, because when Bill talked to Peter, he said duplex not quite in that realm yet because we weren't talking about house hacking and stuff.
That's
so
$300 a month,
Yeah, I know.
That's tough.
I mean, what's your opinion? The HOA covers certain things. You have certain expenses with the property you won't be responsible for, but I think there's a trade-off to that.
Yeah. I mean, it just comes down to affordability per month. What are you comfortable spending? Because, if the property is $250,000 condo, you're still paying that same mortgage amount that you would on a $250,000 house. You're just adding $300.
If you annualize the cost of the HOA dues, you probably aren't necessarily dumping that entire amount of money in over the course of an entire year.
Yeah. Condo's a tough sell for a 20-something. But,
yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you're paying for like snow removal and
you don't
lawn
have to cut
maintenance,
the grass. You don't have to,
which is nice, but you're 20-something. You
can do those.
You can do that stuff.
This year, years you can do that kind of stuff.
You should probably.
So, do you guys want to switch it to duplex? Go right ahead. Do you think duplex is a better option?
I would think it would be if you could actually afford it and you could actually get under contract.
All right, Bill, tell you what, why would duplex be a good option for a 20-something?
Duplex would be a good option because it's the ultimate house hack, really. I mean, it kind of like Tanner alluded to that before. If they would have had that enhancement, he might have pursued that route before. Because prior to that, he was going to need to have 15% down to get the duplex, and that's more than most. That's not really super sustainable.
Yeah.
Let alone the fact that the amount of condos that are on the market on an ongoing basis. Like we said earlier, time in the market is better than trying to time the market.
Yeah.
And that's what I see some people who aren't willing to settle.
Yeah.
And in reality, if you could settle and you would look at what someone's house or their property looked like when they first bought it to when they had it for a year or 2 years, you're always going to make a bunch of improvements anyway.
Yep.
So if you could be better overall than a condo. Getting back to your
Plus, you're going to get a lot more appreciation on that type of property than a condo.
Condos are the most commoditized property of anything because, unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are downsizing that will sell their condos at a discount, that will settle for less in the market value than otherwise people would for a single family or duplex, right?
Yeah. So why would a single family be better for a 20-something? That was the decision you made.
Yeah. Well, because I couldn't do a duplex because I wasn't financially able to put all that money down.
Sure.
And I didn't really feel like trying to look for. You probably can't find a $150,000 duplex that's in living condition anywhere besides maybe the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So I went with a single family home because I knew it had enough rooms that I could have 2 roommates, and I knew that it was going to appreciate a lot being in Wauwatosa in a good area. There's a ton of good, we got grocery stores, restaurants, things to do.
If you're right by Curry, you're up at Mayfair and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, everything's within 5 minutes.
And you're on the highway in no time. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right by downtown Wauwatosa. It's 7 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I knew if I made a couple of improvements along the way, and it didn't have to be soon. I didn't have to do them before I even move out of there.
Yeah.
There
aren't a lot of new houses in Wauwatosa, but the older houses are very, fix-upable and can, renovate them easily to do your own thing and make a little bit of return on investment there. Yeah.
100%.
Mine is rent, and you know what? For a 20-something, sometimes rent just makes the most sense because they haven't got a job or a career where they can. If they're only making $30,000 a year, odds of you affording a house at that point is slim. And if moving out of mom and dad's house is something that has to happen, rent's probably your only option. If you could buy a house, I probably would say that'd probably be a better way to go. If you could afford to go, I think. But if you can get a buddy, You can find a 2-bedroom apartment or whatever, for a reasonable amount. I mean, my one son has a 2-bedroom apartment here in Hartford for $700 a month. And he doesn't have a roommate because he doesn't want a roommate, and he can afford to not have a roommate right now, but it makes life a little tight on the other side of things for him, But if he had a roommate, that'd be an extra $350 in his pocket or more,
Right.
Well, and that's why he got the 2-bedroom. So if he did need to get a roommate, he could.
Yeah. Yeah, if you ever decided to, for sure.
There are some scenarios where you can actually incorporate boarding income onto a first-time buyer mortgage. Doesn't happen a ton, but where it does happen is where the buyer would be collecting rent, kind of like Tanner is, from someone for 12 months, and it can be documented, and then you can use boarding income on a single family, which is pretty crazy, but you can. And then the other thing
apartment.
From an apartment.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you had an apartment and the person was giving you the money every month and it got documented, and then you were going to go buy a house, and then that person was going to move in with you, you can use that towards qualifying, and that's a major hack for a first-time buyer.
And that would look like rental income on somebody that owns a 4-family or something like that, right?
On the Fannie Mae website, it is classified under boarding income. And then the other thing I was going to say is, if my mom and dad are paying my student loans for the last 12 months, they do not count against me for qualifying to buy property. And the biggest hurdle we're seeing with student loans right now with people with how much they have, like Gen Zs that are coming in with 6 figures worth of student loans. If you can either go Freddie Mac, the payment on the student loans for $100,000 is only $500 a month against qualifying. That's like a car payment. Or if the parents or someone else has been paying those student loans for at least the last 12 months, it does not count against them to qualifying for a home.
Oh, cool.
So that's like one of the major hurdles that people sometimes consider resistance is student loans.
Sure. Yeah, it could be. And it's a huge burden on a lot of people these days, that's just a fact of life. You went to school, you took out the loan, you got to pay it back, it's just what happens, and you got to account for that in the rest of your life, So how are you guys on time? You guys have time for some fun?
I have time.
I got time.
All right. So this is a real estate fun thing. All right. So I got a top 10 list here.
Okay.
All right. Top 10 list. It's like the thing. Top 5 list, top 10 list. You see them all over the
place.
Oh, yeah. Right? So this is a top 10 best ROI projects for your home. Top 10 best ROI projects for your home. Now there are, I would consider 4 of these kind of in the same realm, but
ROI being return on investment.
Yep. So you spend $1, how much of that dollar are you going to get back? Okay.
Right.
And in some cases you get more than $1 back, but not many. But the highest return on investment projects for your house. All right, you guys.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Some ideas.
I get it.
All right, who's going to go first?
I can go first.
What do you got, Tanner?
I was going to say finishing another bedroom or another bathroom.
Adding a bedroom. So we'll say an attic bedroom conversion.
Right.
That would be number 4.
Okay.
That would be number 4. Return on investment approximately 93%. So you put $1 in, you get 93 cents out, of it when you sell, but there's a larger cost.
Right.
Kitchen remodel.
That's where it doubles up. They have a minor kitchen remodel at number 3. And then they have a major kitchen remodel at number 6. The minor kitchen remodel is recouping 98% of that dollar that you spent. And the major kitchen remodel, because there's a lot more expense, the price goes up dramatically when you talk about kitchens and bathrooms, is 91% only on a major kitchen remodel. So, so minor kitchen remodel will be like change your countertops.
Yep.
Reface your cabinets,
Paint the cabinets. It's really popular now.
Yeah. But tear out the cabinets, gut the kitchen. That's a 91%.
That's a long term.
Yeah. What do you got for the next one?
Well, I guess I'm just going to go with the bathroom remodel then.
Bathroom remodel, yeah. They got minor bathroom remodel and major bathroom remodel. So a minor bathroom remodel is actually number 1. Okay. And that is a positive return on investment. So they're saying 102 to 103%. Minor base remodel, 102%. So you get a dollar plus 2 cents back. Okay. On a major bathroom remodel, you're looking at 93 cents from that dollar you spent. But you get to enjoy that bathroom, So right. I always tell people do it before. Don't do it right before you're going to move out of it,
So many people improve stuff right before they sell something.
Like, dude, do it a couple years before so you can enjoy it for a little bit,
Right. Then it's not as new.
True, yeah. But you can clean it, It's just, But
I get it.
All right, Bill, what do you got for another one?
New windows.
Windows, I would have thought it would have been higher, but it's not. It's only 89%. 89%, number 10.
No. Yeah. Well,
I would have thought you could more.
I wasn't picking the top one there, but I just threw that one in there.
I think that windows can make a house look a lot newer on the inside.
I would have thought it would have been higher than 10, but I see the point.
Yeah. What do you got? Number 2 is still out there.
Number 2 is still out there. Wow.
And it's something easy for a homeowner to do.
Something easy for a homeowner to do. I don't know. Let's just go with flooring.
Flooring is not on the list.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have thought that would have been...
Like carpeting, like
I would-
If we could put the Showcase Showdown sound effect in there.
Yeah, and I think upgrading like LVP from carpet or something.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that would be
LVP from carpet.
that would be huge to me. You know what I mean? Compared to some shag red, stuff from the 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's extreme case, of course.
There was something from the audience. They asked, insulating an unheated detached garage in the Northeast with exterior insulation. Is it worth it?
I would say no, because you're robbing yourself of garage spaces, and here in Wisconsin, garage spaces are a must.
In certain markets, though, I've seen on social media some hacks though of people adding a bonus space in their garage and even renting that part out.
Sure.
In fact, I saw it on Facebook recently.
Yeah.
In certain markets, I think that is a thing that some people are doing, especially with inflation being where it is.
I think it depends how big your garage is.
I mean, if it's a 3-car garage and you're just taking that third car,
or if
I got a buyer with a 4-car garage and he's turning part of it into like an office space.
yeah. I mean, a house with a garage versus a house without a garage, there's a dramatic price difference.
Yes.
Here in Wisconsin. But it is something that if it's just like you're renting out or you need the extra space for whatever, then it might be an option for you. But I don't know that there's going to be a huge return on investment.
I don't see it. And the appraiser's not giving value to that.
No, yeah.
And like my last house, I had the drywall was just up as like fire drywall.
Sure.
And then I had it mudded and taped, and I sprayed knockdown in there, and then I did epoxy on the floor. And that was an added benefit or an added selling point, but no one's giving value to that.
Yeah.
No.
Bill, do you have another one?
Well, did we say finished basement yet?
Finished basement, we did not. But basement remodel is number 9, 90% return on investment. So 90 cents out of your dollars coming back to you, which is a good thing. But basement remodels very frequent here in Wisconsin, but not elsewhere in the United States.
Right.
Yeah. Elsewhere in the United States, most when we get south of Illinois, they aren't going to have basements. They're usually going to be either crawl spaces or they're going to be slab on grade. It's just a fact of life down there. But up here in Wisconsin, almost everybody's got either a basement or crawl space, a significant crawl space, It's just how we build our houses up here. It's just a little bit differently, and part of it's because of our frost cycle and stuff. So, yeah. Got another one?
So are we talking like big projects or are some of these minor? Like,
I would say these are, the one's kind of a minor one, but the other 2 are bigger projects, yeah.
oh, okay. All right.
Both on the outside of your house.
Well, I was just going to say, let's just go with roof.
Roof is not one of them.
Siding.
Is not one of them. Siding's not one of them. That would be a good one too, right?
Wow.
Yeah. But they're both on the 2 biggest ones that are left here. I think are outside your house. And
Landscaping.
Number 2,
geez.
number 2, and they're claiming 100%.
I waited to make sure you weren't going to.
Yeah,
Curb
they're-
appeal.
okay.
Yeah, they're making
Curb appeal.
Curb appeal.
Curb
for
appeal,
sure.
yeah, and I think overall enjoyment if you put a patio out back or whatever, But they're saying 100% return on investment. So
What about a
spend $1,
pickleball
get
court?
$1.
That's not on the list.
I know,
Yeah.
right? Basketball, a little pickleball, a
See,
combo
that would
thing.
appeal to me so much.
I think it would, yeah, for sure. But let me just give you the other 2. The other one was your front entry door. So snazzing
That
up that front entry door.
supposedly was number 1 on a different list.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I thought that these were more bigger projects.
Yeah,
so I
they
didn't
had
say
it at number 7, 90% return on investment. They had the cost for that about $1,500 to redo your front door.
I think
I think that's light.
I think that's low. I think if you talk about what the contractor's going to make
Well,
these days.
if you were going to
You do it
just
yourself though.
if you were just going to be able to, if you were able to go get a slab, the problem is a lot of the doors are metal and you got to get the hinge points correct.
Or fiberglass. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all a whole thing. The other one is deck or patio. So deck and patio is the thing people out here in Wisconsin do a lot, just because we like our outdoor time, In Texas, not so much.
Starting to go away from decks and going more so to concrete stamped patios.
Yep.
Purely because the treated lumber and the cedar, once you actually have it stained more than once, it peels every year and it looks like crap.
Yeah. And it requires so much more maintenance.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of maintenance.
My last house had a pressure treated deck, and I got so tired of replacing boards and trying to keep it looking nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is our top 10 list. I had fun kind of looking up the
Yeah.
top end 10 list. I had the top 5 college football or college basketball teams being March Madness and all,
Yeah.
But we got the pro here, so I'm like, we can't give them an easy one,
Yep.
But that's always fun doing that kind of stuff. We're gonna pass on the toilet paper over or under. I know it's an intriguing topic that you guys were excited to talk about today.
Going back to March Madness. All right, so Tanner, who are you thinking is gonna
take it
be
all?
in the
Who's
top
taking it
4 at least?
Well,
Say the Houston Cougars. Come on.
Well, that's who I picked. I picked the Houston Cougars. But I'll tell you what. ESPN has UConn being picked at 31%. And when you see something like that, I just can't. I can't follow the mob on that one. It's too many people picking it. How are you going to win any bracket pools if they don't win?
Everybody's going to be because then you're all irrelevant, Mr. Irrelevant.
And then my dark horse pick, I have Auburn coming 4 seed.
Auburn's they're not that. They're only a number 7 in the nation right now.
They're a 4 seed in the tournament. They're just on fire. And
they look solid.
Bruce Pearl looks like he's got the boys together.
Yeah, he's got some intensity.
Bruce has got 9 lives, man.
I mean, the top 5.
He's still coaching.
The top 5 having the Houston Cougars. Never thought I would have sent them in the top 5. This is the coaches poll and the AP poll.
Yeah.
And then the Iowa State Cyclones are number 4. I'm like, I would never expect Iowa State Cyclones to be number 4 in the nation.
Their defense is
crazy.
Tenacious.
I mean, UConn, Purdue did get whooped up by Wisconsin by a point, I think it was. But it was still whoop up, take down those Boilermakers. And then the Tar Heels are rounding out the top 5 there. Yeah. But we do have 2 Wisconsin teams in the go to this year. We have Marquette at number 8 and Wisconsin at number 23 in the top 25 coaches poll, which is kind of cool, Yep,
it's good to see.
Yeah, but that is all fun. We do have a tip of the week before I let you guys go here today, and this is the time of year to check for moisture in your attic. So pop your head up into your attic. You really should pop your head up there every 6 months to make sure you're not having any unwanted guests, being AKA insects, rodents, bats, that kind of stuff. But the main concern for me, those other guys are very easy to deal with. The main concern for me is moisture. So if you have a high amount of moisture in your attic, you're going to end up with mold. You're going to end up with wood rot, wood deteriation, delamination of the.
How can you tell when you have
decking.
excessive moisture if you don't have any tools like you have?
Well, I got these tools, and that's all I need. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. There are other ways to do it. But the way for a homeowner to look at it is you go up in your attic, you see any discoloration on the underside of your sheathing. That's number 1. Number 2 is if you're going up there in February, you're going to see kind of frost on your nail heads and on the sheathing itself. That would all be signs. If you're looking at your insulation, and you see like water's been dripping in.
Would that be some problems that you could have gotten from those ice dams that we could have possibly had, or not?
Ice dams are a thing that I would not say is as prevalent as people think they are.
Okay.
So the ice damming thing is usually more likely caused by not enough ventilation and not enough insulation and too much air loss or air sealing problems, from in the home.
Okay.
So basically with ice damming, you see the icicles on the outside of your house, you see ice build up on your roof, that's okay. That's not ice damming, really. Ice damming is where that water is getting pushed back up underneath the shingles and it's entering into your home. You're going to usually see that anywhere from 4 to 6 inches off of your outside walls, okay? Yeah. And you're going to see start getting a drip mark there, and that's the ice damming that's happening. Yeah. If you're not seeing that drip mark, you don't actually have to worry about the ice damming. I see too many people going up destroying their roofs by using roof rakes and stuff like that, trying to rake off their roof, and then those are the roofs that I go up there and I have to call out all these damages because it's got all these scratches and gouges taken out of the roof surface because they were using their roof rake to try to, because they thought that's how you prevent ice damming. No, that's not how you do it. You prevent ice damming by increasing the ventilation in the area and decreasing your air, or decreasing the air loss from the house, improving the air sealing, and then improving the ventilation out by your soffits and stuff.
Good insight.
Yeah. It's something that here in Wisconsin is a thing. I know people make a bigger deal out of it than they usually should, but it is something that is a thing that can happen to people occasionally. Yeah. So lots of good stuff out there this week, you guys. If you're 20-something, you got questions about what you can financially afford, talk to this guy, Bill Moeller. Go get a pre-approval over at Bank 59. He'd be happy to chat with you. He's got also lots of good stuff out there about affordability and loans and all that.
Charts and graphs.
Charts and graphs. And if you want somebody that gets excited about charts and graphs, he's the guy for you. Yeah. But lots of good stuff out there. You can give him a call. You can reach him at Bank 59, but you can also look him up on buildabanker.com. He'd be happy to consult with you. If you're looking for a house, you're looking for an agent to list your house with, you can't beat the Smith team, Wisconsin. Tanner Smith here representing the Smith team today. They would be a great resource for you. Lots of good stuff out there. You guys have a tagline. Do you remember your tagline?
Make your dreams a realty.
No, he's got it. His dad would always break that up. Bill's going too. Bill, what's yours? You remember yours?
I don't really have one.
You had one the one time.
Charts and graphs.
Charts and graphs. Live it, love it, learn it.
I'll get you pre-approved. Boom.
There you go. But thanks again for tuning in, you guys. We really appreciate you. If you don't mind, hit the subscribe button. Smash that bell notification. And give me a thumbs up if you like what you heard here today, all right? We'll see you guys next time. Have a great one. We are taking off next week for spring break. Miss Tammy is off of school, and we are out of here. We're going to be up in Florence, Wisconsin, having a good time, ATV and breaking out the boat if it's not too cold. And I hope there's not 5 inches of snow up there.
Right?
It's supposed to snow.
It's been like next to no snow up there all year long, killing the snowmobile industry and stuff. But we'll see. We'll find out. We'll know on Friday when we get up there for our fish fry over at Annie's Trading Post. Awesome place for a fish fry if you're ever up there. But have a great one, you guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Remember, you guys, the better you take care of your house, the better it's going to take care of you. We'll see you on the next one.